I think I didn't do anything wrong. Just wanted my husband to understand that my friendship with Jason was important. But now, I'm holding the divorce papers he served me, and everyone's looking at me like I'm the villain. All I said was that if he couldn't accept my closest friend, maybe he should leave, so why am I the one being blamed? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. It all started 3 months ago at our dinner party. I thought I was being funny, lightening the mood after Liam had been so quiet all evening. We were sitting around our dining table. Me, Liam, Jason, his girlfriend Emma, my sister-in-law Sarah, and a few other friends. Baby Eli was finally asleep upstairs after fussing all day. "You know," I said, bouncing slightly in my chair with that giddy feeling you get when you think you're about to say something hilarious. Sometimes I wonder if Jason might actually be Eli's real father. I mean, look at those eyes. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma's fork clattered against her plate. Sarah's mouth fell open. Jason laughed nervously, but I could see the discomfort in his eyes. And Liam... God, the look on Liam's face. Like I'd just slapped him in front of everyone. "Bree, what the hell?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Oh, come on, it's just a joke," I laughed, looking around the table for support. "You guys know I'm kidding, right? Liam's been so paranoid lately about Jason and me hanging out. I thought it would be funny to..." "Funny?" Liam's voice was getting louder now. "You think joking about our son's paternity in front of our friends is funny?" I felt my cheeks burning. Everyone was staring at us now, and this wasn't going the way I'd planned at all. "Liam, you're being dramatic. It was obviously a joke. Everyone knows you're Eli's father." "Do they?" he asked quietly, and something in his tone made my stomach drop. Emma cleared her throat uncomfortably. "Maybe we should go," she said, already reaching for her purse. "It's getting late anyway." "No, don't leave because of this," I said quickly. "Liam's just being sensitive. He can't take a joke anymore." But the damage was done. Within 15 minutes, everyone had found excuses to leave. Sarah hugged Liam tightly before she left, whispering something in his ear that I couldn't hear. Jason squeezed my shoulder and said he'd call me tomorrow, which only made Liam's jaw clench tighter. After the door closed behind the last guest, Liam turned to me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not angry, exactly. Disappointed. Hurt. Something worse than anger. "Why would you say that, Bree? In front of everyone?" "Because you've been acting like I'm having an affair with Jason for months now," I shot back. "I thought if I made a joke about it, you'd realize how ridiculous you're being." "Ridiculous?" He ran his hands through his hair. "Bree, you spend more time with Jason than you do with me. You text him constantly. You meet him for coffee 3 times a week. You tell him things about our marriage that you won't tell me. He's my best friend. And I'm your husband. Or at least I thought I was." I could hear Eli starting to fuss upstairs, probably woken up by our raised voices. "You are my husband, Liam. That's exactly my point. You're being paranoid about nothing." "Nothing?" He laughed bitterly. "You just told a room full of people that you're not sure who our son's father is." "It was a joke." "It wasn't funny, Bree. It was humiliating. And the fact that you can't see that..." He shook his head and headed toward the stairs. "Where are you going?" "To pack a bag." My heart stopped. "What? Liam, you're overreacting. Come on, don't be like this." He paused at the bottom of the stairs, not turning around. "I need some space to think. I'm going to stay at Sarah's for a few days." "You're leaving? Over a joke?" "No, Bree. I'm leaving because my wife just humiliated me in front of our friends and family, and she can't understand why that's a problem." I watched him climb the stairs, heard him moving around in our bedroom, the sound of drawers opening and closing. Eli's crying got louder, but I felt frozen in place. This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go. I was just trying to lighten the mood, show everyone how silly Liam was being about Jason. When he came back downstairs with his overnight bag, I tried one more time. Liam, please don't leave. We can talk about this. We've been trying to talk about this for months, Bree, but every time I bring up concerns about your friendship with Jason, you shut me down or turn it around on me. Tonight was it was the last straw. So you're choosing to leave your wife and baby over a stupid joke? He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in his eyes. Something final. No, I'm choosing to leave because my wife chose to protect her relationship with another man over her relationship with me. There's a difference. The front door closed behind him with a quiet click, and suddenly the house felt enormous and empty. Upstairs, Eli was crying harder now. I climbed the stairs slowly, my mind racing. This was temporary. Liam would cool off, realize he was overreacting, and come home. He had to. But as I picked up our son and tried to soothe him, I couldn't shake the memory of that look in Liam's eyes. Like he was seeing me clearly for the first time, and he didn't like what he saw. I pulled out my phone and texted Jessica. Liam's being dramatic as usual. Had to leave because of a harmless joke. Some people just can't handle reality. She didn't respond right away, which was unusual. Usually Jessica was quick to take my side when Liam and I fought, but tonight, even my phone felt quiet and cold. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face going to the office and pretending everything was normal when my husband had just walked out on me over nothing. Instead, I spent the morning pacing around the apartment, bouncing Eli and checking my phone every 5 minutes to see if Liam had texted. Nothing. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I called my mom. "Honey, what's wrong? You sound upset," Marianne said as soon as she heard my voice. "Mom, Liam left last night. He's staying at Sarah's." "What? Why? What happened?" I told her about the dinner party, about the joke, about Liam's complete overreaction. As I talked, I could feel my mum's indignation building on my behalf. "He left you and the baby over that?" "Brianna, that's ridiculous. Men can be so sensitive sometimes. It was obviously a joke. That's what I told him, but he's being so dramatic about it. He's acting like I actually cheated on him or something." "Well, you didn't, did you?" "Of course not. Jason is my friend, my best friend. I shouldn't have to give up my friendships just because Liam is insecure." "Absolutely not. You're a grown woman, and you have every right to have friends. If Liam can't handle that, that's his problem." Talking to my mum made me feel better, more justified in my position. She was right. I was a grown woman, and I shouldn't have to sacrifice my friendships for my husband's insecurities. After we hung up, I decided to meet Jessica for lunch. I needed someone to talk to, someone who could help me figure out how to handle this situation. We met at our usual cafe, not the one where Jason and I usually met. I wasn't stupid, and I filled her in on everything that had happened. "So he just left?" Jessica asked, stirring her coffee slowly. "Just like that?" "Just like that. Can you believe it? Over a harmless joke." Jessica was quiet for a moment, which wasn't like her. Usually she was quick to jump in with advice or support. "Bree, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How much time do you actually spend with Jason?" I felt my defenses go up immediately. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you meet him for coffee at least 3 times a week. You text him constantly. Last week, when we were supposed to have lunch, you cancelled because Jason needed to talk about his relationship problems. He's my friend, Jess. Friends are there for each other." "I know, but—" She hesitated, like she was choosing her words carefully. "Don't you think Liam might have a point? I mean, if Tom was spending that much time with another woman, I'd probably be uncomfortable too." I stared at her, feeling betrayed. "Are you taking his side?" "I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm just trying to understand why this happened. The joke was pretty harsh, Bree." "It was a joke." "I know, but think about how it sounded to everyone else, especially to Liam. In front of all your friends, you basically said you weren't sure who your baby's father was. Because Liam has been acting so paranoid about Jason that it's become ridiculous. I thought if I made a joke about it, he'd see how silly he was being. Jessica sighed. But did it work? Did he see how silly he was being? I thought about Liam's face last night, the hurt and disappointment in his eyes. No, I admitted quietly. Maybe there's a reason for that. I felt anger flare up in my chest. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe you should think about whether your friendship with Jason is worth your marriage. I shouldn't have to choose. Maybe not, but apparently you do have to choose. And you need to decide which is more important to you. I left lunch feeling more upset than when I'd arrived. Jessica was supposed to be on my side, supposed to support me. Instead, she was basically telling me that Liam was right. When I got home, there was a text from Sarah waiting for me. Liam is staying with us. He's really hurt, Brie. Maybe you should think about what you really want. I deleted the message without responding and immediately texted Jason. Can we meet? I need to talk. He responded within minutes. Of course, usual place in an hour. At least someone still cared about me. At least Jason understood that friendship was important, that I shouldn't have to choose between the people I cared about. I dropped Eli off at my mom's house and drove to the cafe where Jason and I always met. It was our place, somewhere we could talk without judgment, without people telling me I was wrong for having a close friend. Jason was already there when I arrived, sitting at our usual table in the back corner. He stood up and hugged me as soon as he saw me, and I felt some of the tension leave my shoulders. I'm so sorry about last night, he said as we sat down. That got really awkward really fast. It's not your fault. Liam's just being impossible about our friendship. Where is he now? Staying at his sister's. He left last night after everyone went home. Jason's eyebrows shot up. He left? Over that? I know, right? It was obviously a joke, but he's acting like I committed some terrible crime. What are you going to do? I don't know. Everyone keeps telling me I should apologize, that I should choose between you and him. But that's not fair, is it? I shouldn't have to give up my best friend just because my husband is insecure. No, you shouldn't, Jason agreed, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. Real friends don't abandon each other just because other people are uncomfortable. His touch was warm and reassuring, and I felt grateful that at least one person in my life understood me. Thank you. I needed to hear that. We talked for 2 hours, about everything and nothing, about his relationship with Emma, about my problems with Liam, about work and life and all the things that best friends talk about. For the first time since last night, I felt like myself again. When I got home, there was a voicemail from Liam waiting for me. Brie, it's me. I'm going to come by tomorrow afternoon to pick up some more clothes and spend some time with Eli. We need to talk, but not when we're both emotional. I'll see you around 2. His voice sounded different, calmer, but also more distant, like he was talking to an acquaintance instead of his wife. I called him back, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried again an hour later. Same thing. That night, lying alone in our bed, I stared at the ceiling and tried to figure out where everything had gone wrong. All I'd done was make a joke. All I'd done was maintain a friendship with someone who cared about me. Why was I being punished for that? My phone buzzed with a text from Jason. Hope you're feeling better. Remember, you deserve to be happy. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for having friends who care about you. I smiled for the first time all day and texted back, Thank you. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'll never have to find out, he replied. At least someone was on my side. Liam showed up at exactly 2 o'clock the next afternoon, like he'd said he would. I'd spent the morning getting ready, doing my hair and makeup, putting on his favorite dress. I thought if I looked good, if I reminded him of what he was throwing away, maybe we could work this out. But when I opened the door, the look on his face told me that my appearance wasn't going to fix this. Hi, he said quietly, not quite meeting my eyes. Hi, come in. He stepped inside but didn't move toward me like he usually did. No kiss, hello, no hug. He just stood there in the entryway like a stranger. Where's Eli? Napping. He should be up soon. Good. I'd like to spend some time with him. The formality in his voice was killing me. Liam, can we please talk about this? About last night? That's why I'm here. We sat down in the living room, but he chose the armchair instead of the couch where we usually sat together. The distance felt intentional, like he was putting a barrier between us. I'm sorry, I said, diving right in. The joke was inappropriate. I can see that now. He nodded slowly. I appreciate that. So, can we move past this? Can you come home? It's not that simple, Brie. Why not? I apologized. I admitted I was wrong. Because this isn't really about the joke. The joke was just the breaking point. I felt my stomach clench. What do you mean? I mean, this is about your relationship with Jason, about the fact that you prioritize your friendship with him over your marriage to me. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you and I had coffee together? When's the last time you texted me in the middle of the day just to see how I was doing? When's the last time you told me about something important in your life before you told Jason? I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come, because he was right, and we both knew it. You spend more time with him than you do with me, Liam continued. You share things with him that you don't share with me. You cancelled our anniversary dinner last month because he was having a crisis with Emma. He needed me. And I need you too. I'm your husband, Brie. I should come first sometimes. You do come first. When? Give me one example from the last 3 months where you chose me over Jason. I sat there, thinking, trying to come up with something. But every memory that came to mind proved his point. The anniversary dinner I'd cancelled. The weekend we were supposed to go away but didn't, because Jason was having problems at work. The countless evenings I'd spent texting Jason while Liam sat next to me on the couch. That's what I thought, Liam said quietly when I didn't answer. But he's my best friend. I'm supposed to be there for him. And what am I supposed to be to you? The question hung in the air between us. Upstairs, I could hear Eli starting to wake up, making the little sounds he made before he started crying. You're my husband, I said finally. Then why don't I feel like it? Before I could answer, Eli's cries got louder. Liam stood up immediately. I'll get him, he said, and headed upstairs. I sat in the living room, listening to Liam's voice as he talked softly to our son. He was so good with Eli, so natural. The baby always calmed down faster for Liam than he did for me. When they came back downstairs, Liam had Eli in his arms, and our son was looking up at him with those big eyes that everyone said looked like mine. But sitting there, watching them together, I could see Liam in Eli's face too. The shape of his nose, the way his mouth curved when he was content. He looks like you, I said softly. Liam glanced at me. Does he? I wasn't sure you'd noticed. The comment stung because I knew what he was referring to. The joke. The implication that I wasn't sure who Eli's father was. Liam, you know that joke was stupid. You know you're his father. I know that logically, but hearing you say otherwise in front of all our friends, it made me question what else you might be uncertain about. Like what? Like whether you want to be married to me. The words hit me like a slap. Of course I want to be married to you. Then prove it. How? End your friendship with Jason. I felt like he'd asked me to cut off my own arm. What? No, absolutely not. Why not? Because he's my best friend, because I shouldn't have to give up my friendships to make you feel secure. It's not about security, Brie. It's about priorities. It's about respect. It's about the fact that your emotional affair with Jason is destroying our marriage. Emotional affair? Are you insane? We're friends. Friends don't talk every day. Friends don't cancel plans with their spouses to be available for each other. Friends don't buy each other expensive gifts or meet for intimate coffee dates 3 times a week. They're not intimate. We're just talking. About what? About your marriage? About how unhappy you are with me? About how I don't understand you the way he does? I felt my face burning because he was right again. Those were exactly the kinds of things Jason and I talked about. He listens to me, I said defensively. And I don't. Not the way he does. Because you don't give me the chance. You take all your emotional energy and give it to Jason, and then you wonder why our marriage feels empty. Eli started fussing again, picking up on the tension in the room. Liam bounced him gently, his voice staying calm, even though I could see the hurt in his eyes. This is ridiculous, I said, standing up. I'm not ending my friendship with Jason just because you're jealous. Then I guess we have nothing left to talk about. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've made your choice. You're choosing Jason over me. I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. Why does it have to be a choice? Because you've made it a choice, Bree. Every time you prioritize him over me, every time you share something with him that you won't share with me, every time you run to him when we have problems instead of trying to work them out with me, you've been choosing him for months. That's not true. Then end it. If our marriage means more to you than your friendship with Jason, end it. I stared at him, feeling trapped and angry and misunderstood. No. Then there's your answer. He handed Eli to me and headed toward the stairs again. Where are you going? To pack more clothes. I'm going to be staying at Sarah's for a while longer. How much longer? He paused at the bottom of the stairs. I don't know, Bree. Maybe permanently. You're talking about divorce? Over this? I'm talking about protecting myself and my son from a situation that's become toxic. Toxic. Our marriage is toxic. Your affair is toxic. It's not an affair. But he was already heading upstairs, leaving me standing in the living room with Eli, who was crying again now, upset by my raised voice. 20 minutes later, Liam came back downstairs with a suitcase. A big one. Liam, please, don't do this. We can work this out. Can we? Are you willing to end your relationship with Jason? Why should I have to? Why can't you just accept that he's my friend? Because he's not just your friend, Bree. And until you can admit that to yourself, there's nothing to work out. He kissed Eli's forehead and then looked at me one more time. I love you, he said quietly, but I won't share you anymore. After he left, I called Jason immediately. He wants me to choose, I told him through tears. He wants me to end our friendship. That's controlling behavior, Bree. That's not love. But what if he really leaves? What if he files for divorce? Then he's showing you who he really is. Someone who would abandon his family over his wife having a friend. You really think so? I know so. You deserve better than that. That night, I got a text from my father-in-law, Paul. Liam told us what happened. You need to figure out what's really important to you, Brianna, before it's too late. I deleted the message and blocked his number. I didn't need judgment from people who didn't understand the situation. But lying in bed that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I was the one who didn't understand. A week passed with no word from Liam. I'd tried calling him several times, but he never answered. I'd driven by Sarah's house twice, but his car wasn't there. It was like he'd vanished from my life completely, leaving only the empty spaces where he used to be. I threw myself into my friendship with Jason, meeting him almost every day now. He was the only person who seemed to understand what I was going through, the only one who didn't judge me or tell me I was wrong. You're better off without him, Jason said over coffee on Thursday morning. If he can't handle you having friends, what kind of husband is he really? But I love him, I said, stirring my latte absently. And I miss him. The house feels so empty without him. You love the idea of him, but the real Liam, the one who's trying to control who you can be friends with. That's not love, Bree. That's possession. His words made sense. They made me feel better about the situation, less guilty about my choices. Jason always knew what to say to make me feel understood. Emma's been asking questions, he said after a moment. What kind of questions? About us, about how much time we spend together. She's starting to sound like Liam. I felt a flash of irritation. Not you too. Please tell me you're not going to abandon me like everyone else. Never, he said, reaching across the table to take my hand. but maybe we should be more careful. Meet less often, or somewhere else. Why should we have to sneak around? We're not doing anything wrong. I know that. You know that. But other people don't understand. Then that's their problem. Jason squeezed my hand. You're right. I'm sorry. I just don't want to lose Emma, too. You won't. She'll come around, and if she doesn't, then she's not the right person for you anyway. We talked for another hour, and I felt better when I left. Jason was right. I was better off without people who couldn't accept my friendships. If Liam and Emma and everyone else couldn't understand that, then maybe I didn't need them in my life. But when I got home, Jessica was waiting on my doorstep. We need to talk, she said as soon as she saw me. About what? About what you're doing to your marriage. I let her in, but I could already feel my defenses going up. I'm not doing anything to my marriage. Liam's the one who left. Because you gave him an ultimatum. You basically told him to accept your emotional affair or get out. It's not an affair, isn't it? Bree, I've been watching you for months. You light up when Jason texts. You cancel plans with other people to be available for him. You buy him gifts. You meet him constantly. You tell him things about your marriage that you won't tell your own husband. He's my friend. He's your boyfriend. The only difference is you're not sleeping with him. Yet. The word yet hung in the air like a threat. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell you the truth? Bree, you're destroying your marriage for a man who's not even single. What happens when Emma gets tired of this and leaves Jason? What happens when he decides he wants more than friendship from you? That's not going to happen. How do you know? Because I know Jason. He's not like that. He's a man, Bree. A man who's spending an inappropriate amount of time with a married woman. If his intentions were purely platonic, don't you think he'd encourage you to work things out with your husband instead of telling you you're better off without him? I stared at her, feeling like she'd slapped me. He's supporting me through a difficult time. He's encouraging you to blow up your marriage. Can't you see that? No, I can't see that because it's not true. Jessica sighed and sank down onto my couch. Bree, I love you. You're one of my oldest friends, but I can't watch you do this anymore. Do what? Destroy your life for someone who's using you. Using me? Jason cares about me. Does he? Or does he just like the attention? The ego boost of having a married woman choose him over her husband? You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? When's the last time Jason encouraged you to work on your marriage? When's the last time he suggested you spend less time with him and more time with Liam? When's the last time he put your family's needs ahead of his own emotional needs? I couldn't answer because the answer was never. Jason had never done any of those things. That's what I thought, Jessica said quietly. Bree, a real friend would want what's best for you. A real friend would encourage you to save your marriage, not destroy it. My marriage was already broken. Was it? Or did you break it by giving your emotional energy to another man? I felt tears starting to burn behind my eyes. I need you to leave. Bree, I need you to leave. Now. Jessica stood up slowly. I hope you figure this out before it's too late. I really do. But I can't be part of this anymore. I can't watch you hurt Liam and Eli and yourself like this. After she left, I called Jason immediately. Jessica was just here, I said as soon as he answered. She said terrible things. She's turning against me too. What did she say? I told him everything, and I could hear the anger building in his voice. She's jealous, he said finally. She's jealous of our friendship, of how close we are. Some people can't handle seeing other people happy. You think so? I know so. Bree, you can't let other people's jealousy and insecurity destroy what we have. Our friendship is special. It's rare. Don't let them take that away from you. I won't, I promised. I won't let them. But after we hung up, I sat in my empty house with Eli sleeping upstairs, and I felt more alone than ever. Everyone was turning against me. My husband, my best girlfriend, my in-laws. Even my co-workers had started looking at me strangely, when I took long lunches or stepped out to take Jason's calls. Was I really wrong? Was everyone else right and I was the only one who couldn't see it? No. No. That was impossible. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just maintaining a friendship with someone who cared about me. If everyone else was too small-minded to understand that, that was their problem, not mine. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. This is a legal notice that you are being served with divorce papers and a petition for temporary custody. Please expect a process server within 24 hours. I read it 3 times before it sank in. Liam was really doing it. He was really filing for divorce. I called him immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried again. Same thing. Then I called Sarah. Sarah, what is Liam doing? I just got a text about divorce papers. Bree. Her voice was cold, nothing like the warm sister-in-law I'd known for years. He's protecting himself and Eli. From what? From me? From this situation, from what you're doing to him. I'm not doing anything to him. You humiliated him in front of everyone. You chose another man over your husband. You gave him an ultimatum instead of trying to save your marriage. What did you think was going to happen? I thought he'd come to his senses. He has come to his senses, finally. The line went dead. Sarah had hung up on me. I tried calling my mom, but she didn't answer either. I tried Jessica, but she'd blocked my number. The only person who answered was Jason. They're all turning against me, I sobbed into the phone. Everyone, even my own family. Then they're showing you who they really are, he said gently. Bree, you don't need people like that in your life. You deserve better. But what am I going to do? He's filing for divorce. He wants custody of Eli. We'll figure it out, together. I'm here for you no matter what. Promise? Promise. That night I barely slept. Every sound outside made me think the process server was coming. Every shadow looked like someone approaching the door. But it wasn't until the next morning, when the doorbell rang at 8 a.m. sharp, that reality truly hit me. This was really happening. My marriage was over. And somehow, I was the only one who couldn't understand why. The process server was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. She handed me a thick manila envelope and asked me to sign for it. I'm sorry, she said quietly before she left. I know this is never easy. I stood in my doorway, holding the envelope, afraid to open it. As long as I didn't look inside, maybe it wasn't real. Maybe this was all just a nightmare I'd wake up from. But Eli's crying from upstairs forced me back to reality. I had to face this. The papers were extensive, more extensive than I'd expected. Petition for dissolution of marriage, petition for temporary custody, motion for temporary spousal support, motion to freeze joint assets. But it was the attached exhibits that made my blood run cold. Exhibit A, screenshots of text messages between me and Jason, going back 6 months. Messages I'd forgotten about, intimate conversations about my marriage, about my feelings, about how unhappy I was with Liam. Exhibit B, bank statements showing payments I'd made for meals, gifts, and coffee dates with Jason. Dozens of them. Hundreds of dollars I'd spent on my friend without ever mentioning it to Liam. Exhibit C, phone records showing the frequency and duration of calls between Jason and me, some lasting hours. Exhibit D, witness statements from the dinner party describing exactly what I'd said about Eli's paternity and how everyone had reacted. Exhibit E, screenshots of social media posts and messages where I'd complained about Liam to friends and family, painting him as controlling and unreasonable. I sank down onto my couch, the papers scattered around me like evidence of a crime I didn't remember committing. But seeing it all laid out like this, documented and organized and presented as evidence, I couldn't deny what it looked like. It looked like an affair. It looked like betrayal. It looked like I'd been systematically destroying my marriage while convincing myself I was the victim. My hand shaking, I called Jason. They have everything, I whispered when he answered. Text messages, bank statements, phone records, everything. What do you mean they have everything? Liam's lawyer, the divorce papers came with exhibits, months of evidence about our friendship. There was silence on the other end of the line. Jason, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. This is bad, Bree. What do you mean it's bad? We didn't do anything wrong. I know that and you know that, but it looks like more than friendship. So you're abandoning me too? I'm not abandoning you. But maybe we should take a break from seeing each other, at least until this blows over. I felt like he'd punched me in the stomach. A break? You're the only person who's been supporting me through this. And that's the problem, don't you see? I've been encouraging you to choose me over your husband. I've been telling you you're better off without him. Maybe everyone else was right. Right about what? About us. About what this really was. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe I wasn't being a good friend to you. Maybe I was being selfish. Maybe I liked having you choose me over Liam more than I should have. The admission hit me like a slap. So you were using me? Not using you, but maybe. Maybe I wasn't as innocent as I pretended to be. I hung up on him and immediately tried calling him back, but he didn't answer. Just like Liam. Just like everyone else in my life. I was completely alone. That afternoon, I got a call from a lawyer's office. Mrs. Archer, this is Patricia Wells from Grant & Fields. I understand you've been served with divorce papers. Yes. I'd like to schedule a consultation to discuss your options. Can you come in tomorrow morning? I made the appointment, but I felt numb, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart, not my own. That evening, my mom finally called me back. Brianna, I just heard about the divorce papers. Mom, I need you. Everyone's turning against me. Honey, I saw some of the evidence Liam's presenting. My heart stopped. How did you see it? Sarah sent it to me. She thought I should know what was really going on. And I think you need to take a long, hard look at what you've done. Mom! Brianna, I raised you better than this. You're a married woman with a baby. You don't spend hundreds of dollars on another man. You don't have hours-long phone conversations with someone who isn't your husband. You don't complain about your marriage to everyone except the person you're married to. But I said Liam was overreacting to a joke. I didn't know about everything else. I didn't know how far this had gone. It didn't go anywhere. We're friends. Friends don't destroy marriages, Brianna. And that's what you've done. You've destroyed your marriage for someone who won't even take your calls now that things have gotten complicated. She was right. Jason had been ignoring my calls all day. What am I supposed to do? You're supposed to grow up. You're supposed to take responsibility for what you've done. And you're supposed to figure out how to be the mother Eli deserves, even if you couldn't figure out how to be the wife Liam deserved. After she hung up, I sat in my living room, surrounded by legal papers and the wreckage of my life, and finally started to understand what I'd done. I'd convinced myself that I was the victim, that everyone else was wrong, that I was just maintaining an innocent friendship. But the evidence didn't lie. The bank statements, the text messages, the phone records, they told the story of a woman who'd been having an emotional affair while convincing herself it was friendship. I'd chosen Jason over Liam dozens of times. I'd given Jason the emotional intimacy that should have belonged to my husband. I'd shared my marriage problems with Jason instead of working on them with Liam. I'd spent money on Jason that should have gone to my family. I'd prioritized Jason's needs over my husband's feelings, over my son's stability, over my own marriage. And when Liam had finally had enough, when he'd given me a choice between my marriage and my affair, I'd chosen the affair. I'd told him to accept it or leave. So he left, and now Jason was gone too, scared off by the reality of what we'd been doing, what it looked like when presented as evidence in a legal proceeding. I was alone with my choices and their consequences. The next morning, I met with Patricia Wells. She was a sharp woman in her 50s who didn't sugarcoat anything. "Mrs. Archer, I'm going to be honest with you. This case is going to be difficult. Your husband's evidence is extensive and damaging. But I didn't have a physical affair. Emotional affairs can be just as damaging to a marriage, and sometimes they're harder to defend against because they involve a pattern of choices rather than a single mistake. So what are my options? You can fight it, but it's going to be expensive and ugly, and you're not likely to win. Or you can try to negotiate a settlement that protects your relationship with your son and gives you a chance to rebuild your life." "What about custody?" "Based on this evidence, your husband has a strong case for primary custody. The court is going to see a pattern of behavior that prioritized your affair over your family's stability." "It wasn't an affair." Patricia looked at me over her glasses. "Mrs. Archer, I've been doing this for 20 years. What you describe as friendship, the court will see as an affair. The question is, what are you going to do about it now?" I left her office feeling defeated. Everything I'd built, everything I'd thought was important, was crumbling around me. And for the first time, I was starting to understand that maybe it was my fault. 3 months later, I sat in family court, watching my life be dissected by lawyers and presented to a judge who would decide my future. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, more intimate, which somehow made everything feel worse. Liam sat at the plaintiff's table with his lawyer, looking calm and professional, in a dark suit I'd helped him pick out 2 years ago for a work presentation. He'd lost weight, and there were lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, but he looked settled, like he'd made peace with what was happening. I couldn't say the same for myself. My lawyer, Patricia Wells, had prepared me for this day, but nothing could have really prepared me for hearing my marriage dissected in legal terms, for having my private text messages read aloud in open court, for watching the judge's expression grow more disapproving with each piece of evidence. "Your Honor," Liam's lawyer began, "the evidence will show that Mrs. Archer engaged in a prolonged emotional affair that undermined the marriage and created an unstable environment for the couple's infant son." "Objection," Patricia said. "There's no evidence of physical infidelity." "Sustained," the judge said, "but I'll allow testimony regarding the emotional aspects of the relationship in question." For the next 2 hours, I listened to my life being presented as evidence of my failures. The text messages where I'd complained about Liam to Jason, calling him cold and distant. The bank statements showing money spent on gifts and meals for Jason. The phone records showing calls that lasted hours, sometimes late into the night while Liam was home with our son. Sarah testified about the dinner party, describing the joke I'd made about Eli's paternity and the reaction it had caused. Her voice was steady and factual, but she wouldn't look at me. "Mrs. Archer seemed to think it was funny," Sarah said, "but everyone else was horrified. My brother looked like he'd been slapped." Jessica testified about our conversations, about how I'd consistently prioritized Jason over Liam, about how I'd refused to see that my friendship was inappropriate. "I tried to talk to her about it several times," Jessica said, "but she was convinced that everyone else was wrong and she was the victim. She couldn't see how her choices were affecting her marriage." Even my mother testified, reluctantly, about the conversations we'd had after Liam left. "At first, I supported Brianna," she admitted. "I thought Liam was overreacting. But when I saw the full extent of her relationship with this other man, I realized I'd been wrong. She'd been lying to all of us about what was really going on." The worst part was when they read my text messages aloud. Messages to Jason where I'd called Liam controlling and boring. Messages where I'd said I felt more understood by Jason than by my own husband. Messages where I'd complained about having to cancel plans with Jason to take care of Eli or spend time with Liam. "I feel like I'm suffocating in this marriage," one message read. "Jason makes me feel like myself again." "Maybe you married the wrong person," Jason had replied. "Maybe you deserve someone who appreciates you." "Maybe I do," I'd responded. Hearing those words read in court in front of Liam was devastating. I could see the pain flash across his face, even though he tried to hide it. When it was my turn to testify, I tried to explain myself, to make the judge understand that I'd never meant for things to go so far. I never had a physical affair, I said. Jason was my friend. I was just trying to maintain a friendship. A friendship that involved hundreds of dollars in gifts and meals, Liam's lawyer asked. Yes, but friends do things for each other. A friendship that involved hours-long phone calls while your husband was home caring for your infant son. We had a lot to talk about. A friendship that you prioritized over your marriage, according to multiple witnesses. I didn't prioritize it. I didn't think I should have to choose. But you did choose, didn't you, Mrs. Archer? When your husband asked you to end the relationship to save your marriage, you refused. I told him he could accept my friendship or leave. And he chose to leave. Yes, because you chose your affair partner over your husband. He wasn't my affair partner. But even as I said it, I could hear how hollow it sounded. The evidence spoke for itself. The pattern of behavior, the emotional intimacy, the prioritizing of Jason over Liam, it all added up to something that looked exactly like an affair, even if we'd never been physical. The judge's ruling was swift and decisive. While the court finds no evidence of physical infidelity, the evidence clearly shows that Mrs. Archer engaged in an inappropriate emotional relationship that was detrimental to the marriage and family stability. The court awards primary custody to Mr. Archer, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Archer until she completes counseling and demonstrates a commitment to putting her child's needs first. I felt the world tilt around me. Supervised visitation, like I was a danger to my own son. Furthermore, the judge continued, the court finds that Mrs. Archer's behavior contributed significantly to the breakdown of the marriage. Alimony is denied. Assets will be divided equally, but Mr. Archer will retain the family home to provide stability for the minor child. I was losing everything. My husband, my son, my home, my support system, all for a friendship that had turned out to be an illusion. As we filed out of the courtroom, Liam approached me for the first time in months. "Bree," he said quietly, "I'm sorry it came to this." "Are you?" I asked bitterly. "You got everything you wanted." "I wanted my wife back. I wanted my family intact. I wanted you to choose us." His voice was sad, not triumphant. "But you couldn't do that." "I loved you," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I know you did, but you loved the attention from Jason more." He walked away then, and I watched him go, understanding finally that this was really over, that I'd destroyed something precious and irreplaceable because I'd convinced myself that I deserved more than what I had. 6 months later, I'm living in a small apartment across town, working extra hours to pay for the counseling the court ordered and the lawyer fees that bankrupted me. I see Eli twice a week for 4 hours at a time, always with a supervisor present. Jason never called me back after that day when the divorce papers arrived. I heard through mutual friends that he and Emma got engaged. They moved to another state for his job. Jessica won't speak to me. Sarah blocked me on social media. Even my mother keeps our conversations short and surface level. I sit in my empty apartment most nights, thinking about the choices I made, about the marriage I destroyed, about the family I lost. I tell myself that I was just trying to be happy, that I deserved friendship and understanding and emotional support. But the truth is simpler and harder to accept. I was selfish. I was so focused on what I thought I deserved that I forgot to appreciate what I had. I was so convinced that everyone else was wrong that I couldn't see how wrong I was. I gave up a man who loved me, who wanted to build a life with me, who was trying to be a good husband and father, for someone who disappeared the moment things got complicated. I gave up my family, my home, my stability, my son's daily presence in my life, for an emotional affair that I convinced myself was just friendship. I gave up everything real for something that was never real at all. And now I'm alone with the consequences of my choices, finally understanding what everyone else could see, that I was the villain in my own story all along. The divorce papers that started this nightmare are framed on Liam's lawyer's wall now, a reminder of a case well won. Liam has primary custody, a stable home, and the respect of everyone who watched this unfold. And me, I have supervised visits with my son, a studio apartment, and the knowledge that I destroyed my own life while convincing myself I was the victim. Sometimes the person everyone's looking at like a villain really is the villain. Sometimes when everyone tells you you're wrong, it's because you are. Sometimes you lose everything because you deserve to lose everything. And sometimes by the time you figure that out, it's too late to fix anything at all.